Have you ever wanted to know what the Ripple payment system looks like or how it works? I have a demo that I can show you in this video. It's going to blow your mind how cool this is. Deanna posted this, so I want to give her the credit for helping me find this. She says, breaking, Ripple launches live payments demo with XRP RLUSD. Is Swift finished? Forget closed door banking pilots. Ripple just dropped a public demo of Ripple payments and it runs on RLUSD plus XRP for the first time. Anyone can see how the rails of global money could work without Swift. Let's break it down. And so he said, on August 30th, 2025, Ripple flipped the switch. Anyone from banks and fintechs, curious individuals can test live cross-border payments using RLUSD and XRP. She also went on to say, RLUSD is the engine. Ripple's USD stablecoin powers the demo. Convert instantly into 50 currencies: Great British Pound, Japanese Yen, Brazilian Real, or the Euro. Real-time FX rates and history. Remember, the FX market is about $7.5 trillion per day, about 1 million transactions. Oh, no, excuse me, 7.5 million transactions at about $1 million. I always get those numbers mixed up in my head. So if you use XRP or RLUSD to facilitate the FX trade, you can save tens or hundreds of billions of dollars over the next decade. Stable, regulated, transparent. RLUSD is Ripple's answer to Circle plus Tether, but enterprise grade. She goes on to say the XRP equals the bridge, a lightning bolt. Here's the savage part. Ripple shows what banks fear most. XRP erases Swift chokehold, instant liquidity between fiat and digital, no pre-funded accounts, settlement in seconds, not days. Swift equals fax machine. XRP equals Starlink in Elon Musk terminology. Who remembers a fax machine? So when I was a kid, my dad used to be a general manager of a Chevy dealership. And every night they would send in the numbers, right? How much money, how many car sales, how much money in finance and all this stuff. I used to run and grab the fax and bring it to him. Man, that was just crazy stuff. I'm sure you remember the fax machine in some way. If you got a fun story, I'd love to hear that. Institutional ready tools. This isn't built for degens, it's built for banks. Real-time reports, paycheck tracking, beneficiary management. Ripple is telling JP Morgan, HSBC, here's your upgrade button. Transparency move. Unlike closed bank sandboxes, Ripple threw this demo into the open. Remittance firms, corporates, regulators can test it today. This is Ripple flexing confidence when they're ready for prime time. The context: this launch comes after RLUSD minted in Japan with SBI. RL integrated into Aave's real-world asset DeFi market. Stablecoins processing 33 trillion a year, more than Visa plus PayPal combined. Ripple saying TradeFi, DeFi, we're connecting it all. The war zone. Ripple's demo lands as Circle, Stripe, and even Google fight for blockchain payments. But Ripple's card is openness plus the XRP ledger speed. Google can talk. Ripple just throws the receipts. What this signals: this isn't a test gimmick. It's the proof of dominance. Ripple's payments is enterprise grade, live, transparent. RLUSD plus XRP are the rails. Swift's monopoly is cracking. The line between TradeFi and DeFi is officially blurred. Ripple just made the future of money publicly visible. So here is the demo. You go in here and you have Ripple payments on the left, and it gives you an overview of all of these different sections. And so here's the first thing that you see when you sign into this. And I'll leave this down in the description. If you want to play with this yourself, please do. And so it says Ripple Payments enables the seamless movement of fiat currencies in over 50 plus markets worldwide, helping your business meet growing stablecoin demand. So you say, start exploring. And it says send payments easily, individual or in batches. And so here's some information: account balance, and then of course in US dollar, and then account balance in RLUSD. And then here is the exchange rate of what you're trying to swap. So it gives you all this information, pretty easy to see. And then it goes next: transparent exchange rates before initiating payments. And then of course, track your transaction in a single window. So this has been the frustration for so many people when they send an international payment. Like, where is the payment? When is it going to get there? I couldn't tell you, right? That has been the answer so many times when people have asked. This allows you to see almost everything: the payment ID, when it was created, who the beneficiary is, how much was sent, how much was received, and the status of that payment, all right on the one screen. Create customized transaction statement reports. So if you are a business and you need to create reports, you're going to be able to easily do that with Ripple's technology, and then easily add, manage, and edit your beneficiaries. So who you're doing business with, you can add them here and boom, it's just that easy. And so here's the next section: global payments. convert stablecoin to fiat, then pay out fiat directly and end-to-end beneficiaries, 50 plus markets with a single solution. And so you go next here, choose your individual payment, and then of course who you're sending to, yourself or somebody else. And then select the UK-based beneficiary. So here, who's this payment to? Here's your list of people. And then you hit next here, and then here is the payment details. So as you can see here, you have the funds, right, where the balance is, how much you're sending, and then here, how much the person is going to receive in Great British pounds. That's pretty cool. It's really easy. You hit next, payment details. You're going to confirm this, and payment completed, right? That's simple. Love it. Love to see it. Cool. 14,500 RLUSD to Atheris International. And then we're going to continue the tour and then pay employees or partners with stablecoins globally without holding digital assets on your balance sheet. This is something that businesses are going to want and need. And then of course, let's choose the individual the payment's going to. Is it yourself or beneficiary or somebody else? And then who on your customer list here, confirming all of the details and where it's being sent. And there it is, right? And then boom, your payment has been sent. It's that simple. And then of course, you can continue the tour. You can talk to the Ripple team. And then of course, manage beneficiaries. This is kind of your list of beneficiaries in one place, whether you're sending payments to another business, individual, or facilitating payments on behalf of your customers. You can do that all right here. Add a beneficiary, business or individual, what kind of currency, right? Because that's really important. Some more details about where that's going, because Ripple is all KYC, AML, anti-terrorism checks. That is super important for banks and financial institutions. And that's simple, guys. That is it. Man, I love this. This is so cool. United Nations highlights Ripple and Stellar as the future financial system. When the United Nations, basically all of the countries getting together and try to figure some stuff out, they're telling you what is the future of payment infrastructure in the world. And that's simple. XRP, Ripple, Stellar, XLM. Institutional side is Ripple and XRP. Retail side is Stellar.
All of the existing networks. And this is kind of what it would look like. It's not a new system, but it connects existing systems.
Ripple, Stellar.
So no matter whether it is
Visa, Swift, I have no idea what that says. Project Nexus, MasterCard, Cello.
Incumbents like Swift, Visa, MasterCard, or some of the newer networks like Ripple, Stellar, Cello, a payment should be able to go from one to another. So we see this happening in 3 phases. The first is account addressing. So this is a global directory that would allow you to address a payment in the same way you have an email address. The second is tokenized compliance, reducing or rather finding efficiencies in compliance to reduce the cost. And the third is real-time settlement of funds.
They have been trying to move to a new payment system for at least a decade, right? And this is really the infrastructure that they're going to do that on. Ripple, highlighted by United Nations research as model for green and inclusive financial system. We know how important it is to be green, and there's all these big initiatives to do so. Of course, Ripple is, it doesn't require a lot of energy like Bitcoin mining. Ripple protocol contains main trends that are relevant for designing a green and inclusive financial system that was led in the research of the NEF in 2014 on a working paper, the United Nations Environment Program Inquiry. It also possesses the key definitions of virtual currency. Also, you do have Swift employees starting to attack Ripple online. And usually you don't see these levels of attacks unless you're worried about something, because if you are the global leader in payments, you shouldn't be worried about anything, right? You've been there for 50 years and no company has ever, been the number one thing. And then, a few years goes by and then suddenly that company doesn't exist anymore, right? That infrastructure. And so here is, so this person, Osama E, says Ripple's XRP stands alone as the blockchain that's battle tested, hardened, and nearly 5 years of intense regulatory scrutiny, proving its resilience like no other. For over a decade, Ripple has been vocal about prioritizing compliance, trust, and interoperability, working hand in hand with global regulators to meet the stringent standards while driving innovation in cross-border payments. And Tom Zisnashi, I probably said that wrong, but oh well, Chief Innovation Officer at Swift, cool dude. He says, Osama, surviving lawsuits isn't resilience. Neutral, shared governance is. Institutions don't want to live on a competitor's rails. And compliance isn't about one company convincing regulators it should be allowed to operate. It's about the entire industry agreeing on a shared standard and no single balance sheet controls. Now, what's interesting here, he says competitor. He does see Ripple as a competitor. That is an interesting part, right? Because you would imagine Swift doesn't see anybody as their competitor because they are the interbank's financial system. Or will they be that for long? You start to wonder. All right, Jake Klaver says real-time shock settlement and what I think is coming for tokenized stocks with Project Ion. Let's play this.
Most people think when you trade stocks on Robinhood or Webull, you are trading stocks real time. You are not. It looks real sexy on the front end of that app, but in reality, if you scratch a few layers deeper, it's just like the banking system, kind of archaic and slow moving. So you have 6 clearinghouses, and they maintain relationships with the brokers like E-Trade and eToro and Webull and Robinhood and all these other applications that you use that are brokers, and they sell you these stocks. They purchase the stocks from the clearinghouses. They send them the money. It takes a whole day for that money to settle now. It used to be T+2 or 3. So basically, there's a line of credit that these clearinghouses extend the brokers. And there's not an accounting mechanism across all 6 of the clearinghouses and all the brokers to make sure they don't oversell a stock. This happened and was illustrated by AMC and GameStop back in 2021 when everybody got pissed off that they got their stocks taken back from them on Robinhood when Robinhood sold them AMC and GameStop that they shouldn't have. They actually oversold the stock across all the brokers. 139% of the stock was sold. More shares than even existed were sold. So that's why they had to freeze trading. And the clearinghouses put out so much money on all that they ran up the credit lines and they were like calling it. They said, nope, no more trading of these stocks. We have to pause this. We cannot account for all this. And so they froze trading on those 2 stocks. And again, everybody was mad. But this is because there's no real-time settlement or accounting mechanism across the back end of the stock market. And so effectively, that is what Project Ion is, which was developed by the DTCC and R3. It allows for a full accounting of all the stocks on the back end of the stock market and real-time settlement between the counterparties that are settling these transactions before they get to you, which is the retail investor. So they'll move to real time and you could actually trade stocks. I think they're going to move to 24/5. So it'd be 24 hours, 5 days a week. Weekends will still be off for the stock market. At least that's what I've been told.
Must be nice to get the weekends off. An updated version of the XRP Ledger AMM paper was released in August to include simulation data. These simulations confirm that the L1 AMM produces better price alignment and lower slippage, offering arbitrageurs or arbitrageries. That is a weird word, yo. Greater efficiency under market conditions. And so I was like, what's all this mean? Like, sounds like a lot of jargon, right? It talks about the AMM simulation insights. The simulations show cumulative distribution functions, CDFs for slippage, price impact, and price variation, demonstrating that the XRPL's L1 AMM compared to a generic AMM maintains higher, tighter spreads and less adverse pricing under varied volatility scenarios. Basically, the AMM performs better than what they were comparing it to here. Lower slippage means traders are less likely to lose money to price movements during execution, boosting user trust and liquidity provisions. The impact on XRP, greater market efficiency directly benefits XRP and the underlying asset within the AMM pools, increasing demand for XRP-based pairs, tightening spreads, and reducing friction for swaps or arbitrage opportunities. If institutional participants or arbitrageurs find XRP's AMM more efficient, it encourages higher on-chain volume and deepens order books, supporting broader ecosystem growth and XRP Ledger's liquidity and use cases. Strategic value, Ripple as a champion of the XRP Ledger leverages these AMM's advancements to solidify the network role in cross-border settlements and decentralized finance, appealing to partners seeking robust trading infrastructure. Basic Ripple is trying to build enough liquidity here to move the world, right? Efficient AMMs can attract integration with exchanges, banks, and payment rail partners, furthering Ripple's vision for tokenized assets and real-time global liquidity, potentially driving institutional adoption. A lot of really cool things happening. And this was so insane, guys. Listen, sometimes it's not about, like, sometimes I'm just doing weird, like I'm building this content on X, and sometimes I see something that just is crazy. Watch this. Look at this guy's face. That's priceless. Oh my God. I had to end the video with that. That was so fun to watch. All right, guys, have a great day. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you can like, you can leave a comment. Just thank you for your time. You have a great week. Aloha.